So today we're going to have a look at the GCM Racing Blitz Rear Bearing Carrier Exchange. As you can see, we've got these made up in, this is number 2R. We've got 2 degree right, 2 degree left, 3 degrees right, 3 degree left, 4 degree right, 4 degree left. And you're saying, well, how do you do that? Because the toe block on the Blitz is actually down here in the back. Well, we got a new toe block here, which is a 0 degree block, and this replaces the toe block that's in the Blitz from the factory. This is a machined piece of John Delrin. It's a very good hard plastic that will do real well holding your pins in place. We've also changed the geometry of it slightly, so in this hole here that mounts the diff case, we've actually corrected a problem with the original skid plate design where the anti-squat in the front, the kick-up in the front, actually gets counteracted in a negative way by the design in the back. So we've actually fixed that when we replaced this back block. We've changed the geometry just slightly in the holes here where it mounts into the bottom of the diff case. To do that, all you have to do is simply exchange the block. So we're going to have a look at what the weight of these products are. Now what we're doing is replacing this original HPI Blitz part, as well as the ball stud and the nut, and we'll see what these units weigh. Those units weigh 5 grams on this scale, 6 grams, and what we're doing is replacing those two parts with a block and a 1mm spacer, and the total is 6 grams, so there's no added weight whatsoever. So what we've done is actually taken the ball stud out of there, which is the original factory setting on the Blitz, this hole right here, and we've added the ball stud back into the new knuckle on the outside hole, which will give it exactly the same position as the original stock position on the outside hole of the original carrier. Now this little spacer that you see underneath the ball stud, that's one of the spacers that comes with the Blitz. There's several that come in different sizes, and we've added a 1mm spacer right there. That gives the user ability to tune the roll center height on the outside of the upper camber link, and it gives a lot more options than the original HPI part, because as you can see, the HPI part only has 3 positions, and those 3 positions don't allow you to raise or lower the roll center on the camber link. So we've added the ability to do that by putting spacers under the ball. We've also given you 4 options for mounting the ball stud. So as you can see, the ball stud can be mounted in the outside position or closer to the bearing as your tuning requirements are. And instead of with the stock position where the remount also moves the link up or down, you can now set your up or down with the position of the ball stud using spacer. Another feature of this product is that we have increased the bearing size from the stock 5x10 now to a 5x11 bearing, which actually gives you quite a bit more bearing race surface inside, and as you can see, the bearing is quite a bit larger. And in order to do that, we've just maximized all the tolerances in here. But because the part is made out of aluminum instead of out of a composite plastic, we don't need a whole lot of material to keep it strong. So you can see we've thinned it down as much as possible and actually gained 0 weight in the process, but added a considerable amount of strength. So why is this important? Well, because on the factory Blitz, what they've done is instead of taking the drive line, keeping it in line with the differential, and then having the toe in built into the bearing carrier, what they did was they changed the pin location at the rear as opposed to the front of the drive arm. So in doing so, to spread the pin at the back brings the whole arm forward. So if you actually calculate the difference between 0 toe on the arm and 4 degrees of toe on the arm, you've actually moved the wheel forward by 8 millimeters in doing so. So by doing this mod, by putting the 0 block in there and then having the toe angle controlled by the bearing carrier, you're actually moving the wheel back 8 millimeters as opposed to having the 4 degree block in at the back of the Blitz. So we're just going to start assembling this here, and the first thing to do is just to get a bearing drop the bearing in the back, and then we'll turn this over and drop the bearing in the front. These parts were designed to have a very close fit for the parts. The bearings are a nice tight fit in there. They're not going to fall out anytime soon. And then we'll drop the stub axle into there, and that'll go straight through, and we're ready to install this part now onto the truck. So we've dropped the bearing carrier in here, and as you can see, there's still the option of having the bearing carrier forward or aft on the pivot point. Now, we have machined the aluminum bearing carrier to be a little more narrow than the factory one, and in doing so you actually have more control over where you want to place it now. So we've actually added two 0.6mm spacers from the HPI Blitz factory parts that come with the truck. We've added 2.6 spacers in there, so now the total is 2.6mm of movement. We have our block as far forward as it can go, and we've got those spacers in the back. And so now, considering that we put the ball stud in the outside, or in the inside most location, the original link, top camber link, now all you simply have to do is turn it a quarter of a turn, and it'll simply fit right onto the ball in the original location. And so we've popped that on there now, and there's the ball stud is in the top mount location on the new part, and we're ready to mount the pin and the drive hex, and there's absolutely no change except that we've now got 2 degrees of toe right on the bearing carrier. These parts are available in a 2 degree, a 3 degree, and a 4 degree. They come with 2 bearing carriers. They come with a set of bearings for each unit, and available separately is a 0 degree block, and all this can be found at gcmachine.ca.